So today we're going to talk about our lovely children.
Yay!
We're going to talk about them or we're going to talk about our parenting styles?
Well, we're going to talk about parenting in general, but yeah, of course, our children are going to be part of that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't seem so excited.
Said,
She
mhm.
said, mm-hmm.
Deep
Sounded
breaths, deep
sounded
breaths.
just like a parent when you said that.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome to Shut Up and Thrive, the podcast that will inspire you to live your best life.
Three best friends who have been growing, motivating, and inspiring each other.
I'm Vanilla. I bring the fun.
And this is Claudia, the passionate one.
And your girl Nair, sprinkling in the creativity.
When you listen to Shut Up and Thrive, it will remind you of your chats with your own BFFs.
Join in every week as we discuss all the things that make you want to shut up and thrive.
So, are you ready?
Let's get into the conversation.
Ooh, ooh. Hey, hey, hey.
What's up, ladies?
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to Shut Up and Thrive. So, how's everyone doing today?
Woo woo, tired.
I'm
Okay.
good.
That's good. That's good. Today, we have a topic that we've been dealing with for quite some time, right?
Mhm.
What do you mean dealing with?
I'm not dealing with, but we've been experiencing. How's that?
Oh, yeah, okay.
You know, whenever we start a episode, we always like to take it back. Let's take it back. Let's take it back. Take it back to when we were kids and think about how we were raised. And when you think about that, do you think it's similar to how you're raising your children? Do you think it's, different? What do you think?
Probably different
In what way?
in every way, every aspect, I think.
Okay, give me one example of something that's different that you're doing with your son that wasn't done with you.
I'm not as strict or as rigid as my mother was, or and my grandmother, because I was raised for about 3 years by my grandmother as well.
Why do you think you decided not to be strict?
I have no control. New generations, they do whatever they want. No, um, I guess purposely to be able to change things. I'm not complaining. I didn't say I was raised extremely strict to the point that I hated growing up or anything like that.
You're not as strict as they were with you, not to say that they were strict, but you're just a little bit less lenient or more lenient.
Definitely.
More lenient. Okay.
So yeah, then I'm definitely more lenient than my mom was. I pretty much was just raised by my mom, and I lived with my grandmother for 3 years when I was younger, from like 8 to 10, something like that. Yeah. How about you,
Okay.
Claudia?
I want to say I'm a little bit more I listen more, I think. And like I actually give choices and listen to what's going on instead of dictating what I want. It may not be the best thing for me. Sometimes I feel like why did I allow my kids to speak more on things, but I think it's important as a person to be able to say why you're telling them to do something, why you're asking what you're asking of them. It has a purpose. I don't think I had a lot of that when I was young. I just was told to do it and I did it because I didn't want to be defiant. So with my kids, I tend to give choices and ask questions. What do you think? How can we do this? And there are some things which is I'm like, no, that's how it's gonna happen. It's how I did it. I know no other way. This is how we're gonna do it. And if you can come up with something better, and I can kind of see it, because now my son's 16, 16, depending on the age, you could come up with something better, then we can talk about it. But if not, this is how it's going. But that's not always the parenting style I have.
Yeah, for me, I agree with you, Claudia. I think when I think back, it was more of like this is what you're gonna do, like this is how it is, like a telling sort of relationship where now I try to like include my kids in the decision and hear them out. I'm always gonna have the final say. So I don't know if maybe I'm more strict than you, Vanilla, but I listen to them and hear what they have to say. And I try to have conversations with them rather than just being like, okay, this is what you need to do. This is what the school you're going to go to. This is the activities you're going to do. I give them choices. What do you feel like doing? Like my girls did dance for many years, but each year I would ask them, do you want to go back? Which dances do you want to do? You know what I mean? I wasn't like, you're going to do dance and you're going to do all the dance classes because that's what I want you to do.
Mm-hmm.
It was more like, are you still liking it? Are you still enjoying it? And then taking it from there. But I did have like, okay, you have to learn to play an instrument. You have to do a physical activity and you have to be good in school. You know what I mean? So they had those 3 criterias, but they had freedom within those things to choose what they wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So that kind of leads us to parenting style. Vanilla, you said you're more on the lenient side. Do you feel like you're really lenient, or is there some like, is he just like wild, not wild, but like, is he free and he does what he feels is right, or is there some type of not strictness but like some boundaries there?
There's plenty of boundaries, plenty of rules. Probably not just coming from me because my mother living upstairs, so she also has her input. So I guess he is being parented by both of us, like I was by my mom and my grandma. But yeah, if I have rules, it's just, I'm not saying he's disobedient, but he's very free to decide like what he wants to do, what he doesn't want to do. Like you were saying, like I'm always like, oh, you should definitely, keep learning your instruments. But he's like, no, I'm done with it. I'm like, okay, said you're done with it. So I don't push.
But are you feeling like that, like when you think back, because he's older now, were you like that when he was younger, or do you feel like as he's grown up, you've become more lenient? Were you stricter when he was
Yeah, it's
younger?
as he's grown up because he was an easy child when he was younger. He tried everything I wanted him to try, so he never he wore what I bought. He didn't choose clothes. He didn't. He was very flowy baby. Now that
That's good.
he's finding his identity, I'm more relaxed because I know like, oh, he's finally speaking up for himself, I guess, more picking what he wants and knowing what he doesn't like. So I'm lenient when it comes to that now. It's just letting him find his way. Of course, there's rules like, yes, okay, you can go out, but make sure you're home at a certain time.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you go out and you turn off your track app, then you're not going out next time. You know what I mean? Things like that.
Okay. How about you, see? What's your parenting style?
I want to say I'm more lenient as well. I tend to cave in, and I know I do. I cave into a lot of the things that he wants to do. I talk a lot more about my oldest because he's my oldest. So he's my first and my, like I say, my prodigy. He's going to be the one that is going to end up telling me, Mom, did you do a good job or a bad job? I feel my only child I had for a long time too. So he was everything to me. So I focused a lot on him and everything that I did. So as a young kid, like Vanilla said, wore everything I bought, every toy he wanted to, something I thought he would like. I tended to know a lot of the things that he would like because it was just me and him. And as growing up, he tried sports. He really likes a certain sport. I put every dime in it. I paid every shoe that he wanted. It was expensive for basketball. I bought it. So I guided a lot of the things of his interest just to keep him busy because he was lacking the male figures as his father, but not as, family members. He had uncles, but everybody knows that if it's not your dad, it's not the same. So there's always that you always want to fulfill something that is missing, but you can't give. But no matter what we do or I've done, could ever replace that father figure for him. So leniency was always something I felt like I had to be because of the situation of my life with him. And I have heavy presence of my parents as well. My mother is very strict, and at the same time, she's not. As over the years I got older, I'm like, no, you're not. To my younger brother, and I check things out, and I'm like, no, you would never allow me to do that. Now you letting him do it.
Yep. That's what I said. It's this
So it's always
generation.
So yeah, like he had my mother telling me one thing, people tell you how to raise your kid because they think you don't know. At the end, I've always told him I make the final decision, no matter what anybody says in front of you or tries to guide me into decisions I need to make for you. I make the final decision, and you and I have been always you and I said we're a team. So that's how I've always faced it with him. And now having my middle child, that's a stepchild, and then a little one who seems to be running all over me because she won't take any directions. She's a different generation. I need help.
So you it looks like you're learning a new, different parenting style.
Yes, I don't know if it's strict. I don't know if it's lenient. I don't know what it is because I have to fluctuate with her because she's different.
But I think your situation is interesting because, like you said, the oldest and the youngest are so far apart. So you may be at one point with the oldest, but now and you're at a different point with the youngest because, as they grow, we become less strict because they're
Mhm.
becoming more of an adult. And now you're like trying to be strict with your youngest, right? Because she's still learning, she's still young, you're still setting those boundaries and trying to be a less strict with your oldest. So
Yeah,
that
it's
is hard. And
like
especially
she's
your
screaming
youngest,
my
she's a
name
ball
out
of
right
fire.
now. She's screaming my name out right now from her room.
Oh.
Like, what do I do? She knows I'm in here, but she won't stop. She's calling everybody.
Do you have her locked up or
No, she's
something?
just in her room. No, locked.
Locked up, girl. That's a different kind of
It's
parenting
a different
style right there.
approach. Yeah, I mean, she's a
That's harsh.
fireball. No,
No,
harsh
but
was
yeah, it
how
is.
harsh was, I don't know if you ladies ever got a spanking or
Oh,
a
Of
belt.
course.
Okay, then that was harsh. We're
Yeah.
good.
being locked
Yeah.
in a room with the TV, iPad, all your toys, house
Right.
of
That's
keys,
not
everything. It's not.
punishment.
It's not. It's nothing
I don't
like
know why I don't believe you, Naya. You were spanked.
Not regularly, but like
No.
every once in a while. No, some kids are always spanked.
Well, me too. I
Like I
did when
remember,
I
Oh,
was
okay,
younger.
I
I
don't know if
wasn't.
I'm,
My mother didn't. My mother didn't spank me. I don't remember my mother spanking me. I
I
remember
wasn't
me.
spanked.
I remember me being a little older, and my mother was like slapped me on my face
Yeah,
once for
I
doing
had,
something stupid. But
yeah,
my grandmother, she would like, your cousin
rip
did
it into
bad,
you.
did that thing bad, so now everybody's getting a spanking. Things like that.
Mm. Well, I grew up with boys, so like the boys would get spanked. I guess being the girl, they just assumed that I wasn't part of the trouble. But I remember like one time, like I got slapped like on my leg. I'm so white. You could see the hand marks. I was like, now I gotta go to school with this hand mark on my leg. I'm wearing
Oh.
pants. I was like 5 years old. I was mad young.
Yeah, I think I got spanked maybe before the age of 8.
Yeah, I
And,
wasn't
and
really
that was
hitting.
like my aunt didn't know that it happened and she flipped out that
Yeah.
whoever spanked me. I can't even remember who spanked me. Even in school, Palmataria, I got
Mhm.
like maybe
Mm.
once. I was always the kid that was giving. Cape Verde, it was like kids hated me because nobody wanted to spank me. I was the cutest kid in the neighborhood.
Oh
Sorry.
Lord.
Here we go.
So everybody wanted to spank you. All
Everybody
the
wanted to
kids.
help, but they could never do it because they knew everybody else was coming after them. I was a good kid. I wasn't bad. I was a good kid. I
I
think
was.
I pretty much did everything that was asked of me. Because again, that dictatorship, they're older. I said so, you're gonna do it. And then that fear of I can get spanked, and I've seen kids get spanked, and I didn't want to get spanked at that age. So I did everything, and I was just, protected child, I guess. That was me. My cousins hated me. They still do.
Well, you must have been tiny because I met you. You were a little kid when you came to this country.
Yeah, I was tiny. By the age of
Yeah.
8 is when I came over here. So I was the smallest one. I was the most liked one. My mother was the baby out of the siblings, and my grandfather died, and he died. She was 20. She was 2. She was the youngest one. So everybody protected my mother. Of course, they're gonna protect her
Your
child. So
child.
it was like no one could touch me no matter what I did no wrong. But I didn't do wrong because I wasn't a wrong kid. I always looked like this.
Yeah.
So
Still do.
nobody could come near me. That was my defense. It's always been my defense. Like if I don't want nobody to come near me, it's like They're like, Carla, you met? No,
You
I'm not
still
mad.
have that face,
I'm like,
Claudia.
what's
still have it.
changed?
I know she still has that face.
Don't come near me. I always had a mean face and nobody wanted to come near me. So I guess that kind of helped too. So I stood out of trouble. But yeah, it's been hard transitioning from the adult, older kid to the
Mhm.
smaller kid and then having a stepchild in the middle.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Like for me, my kids are all close in age, right? I had
So you're
all
a
of the
parent of.
I'm a parent of 3 and they're 2 to 3 years apart. So my oldest was 4, no, 5.
How's your
Yeah,
oldest?
5. She's 16, 14, and 11. When my oldest was 5, like my kids were 5 and under. So to me, that's close in age. They were literally like on their way out of diapers, and I was like giving birth to the next kid, which it was so crazy that I was always in fear of having 2 kids in diapers. I'm like, oh my God, how can I handle having 2 kids wearing diapers? But not magically, but somehow, as I was pregnant and birthing one child, the other child was leaving diapers. So I was like, okay, this is kind of cool.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I think they're close in age, but not too close to the point that I felt overwhelmed, as I was having them. And of course, having people to help, like your family, having that village was extremely helpful. So I give props to anybody who has to do something like that on their own. I had my husband and his family, my family. So my kids were always with someone being taken care of. Didn't really have to worry about that. So that was good. In terms of like the dynamic, I feel like I'm able to parent them the same way because they are close in age. So I think for me, that was a good thing. But not to say it was easy, imagine my middle one was probably the toughest one as a child, which they say that second child is always like the crazy child, right?
Mm-hmm.
So imagine trying to like calm a toddler, but yeah, you have a baby that's like you're breastfeeding. You know what I mean? Like you're breastfeeding, and then you have your oldest who's just so spunky and like wants to be involved with everything. So it was kind of cool to see all their personalities, but trying to manage them all at once, that was not easy. I think as they grew up, it became easier. But when they're all young at that age, it was hard. And there were times where, because my husband works long hours, I would be like, you need to come home now. No, I'm serious. Like trying to bathe them, feed them, put them to bed. Like after you've had a long day at work,
Yeah.
3 kids, that's not easy. That's not easy. But we got through it though.
Definitely did. You got prepared for when the grandbabies come.
Ooh, I told them their grandmother is all about them. Like, how you guys were saying, like the way the grandparents treat the grandkids is way different than how we were treated. But I already told them I'm going to be that traveling grandmother that's not going to be home for you to think just bring the kids over and go party. Nope, that's not going to be me. I'm going to be
You're the grandma that's going to be bringing the kids with you on vacation.
Well, definitely, but don't think that I'm going to be sitting my butt down watching kids.
Yeah,
I had them young for a reason.
Because your mother didn't do it, right?
What do you mean?
Because your mother didn't watch your kids, so why would you watch?
Oh yeah, no. I'm not saying no, but I purposely had my kids young for that reason. I told myself 30 is my cutoff age, and I have my son right before my 29th birthday. So, because I knew once they're grown, I'm out. I'm doing my thing.
Girl, you've been doing your thing.
True. Right. But now I'm gonna. I've been doing
and the reason why you've been doing your thing, I think, like you said, you give props to like a mom doing all of it by itself with no village helping. I give you lots of props because you did, even though you say you had a village to help you, but you did it, and you did it so well. I know it's stressful, of course, but you did it. You did it so well that at a young age, I saw how your kids were very like self-sufficient at a young age, and so to me, I give you props for your parenting style. Whatever it is you did do or didn't do, you did an awesome job. You're still doing an awesome job.
Thanks. But yeah, we'll get to that because I have like how I want my kids to be, like a vision of how I want my kids to be. Obviously, they ultimately are going to be whatever they want to be, but there's
Mhm.
obviously values and morals that you want to instill in your kids, and being self-sufficient and being independent is one of those things. Like you guys used
Mhm.
to joke with me how they were doing their own laundry at like 7 years old.
Like
Yes.
4.
Not that early.
Such a
But
good
yeah,
thing. Yeah, definitely helps
I'm
around women.
sorry, like laundry is one of those things that in a house of 5 plus
Mm.
sometimes,
Mhm.
right? That machine is always going, and I'm not going to be a slave to the laundry machine. And dishes is the other thing. There's always dirty dishes, so you got to
Ooh.
get your kids on that early. Like those are the two things
Oh
that
yeah.
they
A
started
house of
early.
2, 3 is dishes
You
is
always
nonstop.
have
Imagine
dishes.
5.
Yeah, so I had that foresight.
Yeah, those values are very important. At least I think that's part of what we learned too when we were younger. All of those values of being kind and treating each other well at home. It starts at home. So love each other at home, being cleansy at home. Even though you got teenagers, you know it, they're not cleansy, but they know it. You know what I'm saying? Like I get a lot from my
What do you mean
older.
cleansy? Like picking
Cleansy.
up
They
after
need to be
themselves?
clean. They need to be like
Oh,
like
clean.
want to care
Clean.
about this body odor,
Oh,
about their.
like hygiene. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's a presentation. You are presenting yourself to others, and it starts at home. So if you have a messy home, you have no boundaries on how to clean or how to like respect the person in your home and be nice to them and care for them and ask how you doing, hi in the morning, good morning, how you do, like all of those things are things you learn at home for you to be able to do it out in the world when you do it. And those are the things my parents get, because people tell me that all the time, like, you guys always say hi no matter where you see me. You've never shied away. And I'm like, no, my mom always told me you need to say hi. You get up in the morning, you didn't sleep with that person, you smile. If you don't want to, if you can't say hi, an eye contact. There's always
No, you
those
have to say
things.
good morning.
There's
My
that
kids
saying,
know
no
it's
dormiju.
not.
Well, in the morning, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, did we sleep together? Is like, I say that all the time. Like, did we sleep together? Because you haven't
Mhm,
said hi to me since you walked in.
mhm.
Those type of things. Even I do it at the school with the kids. I'm like, you didn't say hi to me. Did we sleep in the same house? Oh, they're like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm just going hi. And I'm like, oh, that starts off with the hi, like present yourself. So those are the things we do it at home, but we don't see it, but other people tell you, because everybody said, your son is so respectful. And I'm like, thank God. Inside of me, I'm
Yeah.
like, thank God he's learning something, because it's easy for you to see he's not cleaning his room. His shoes is a mess. His backpack is disorganized. But you know what I'm saying? Like those things that they get into at the teenage years, and you're like, oh my God, he's probably a mess out there. But literally, he is together when he's out there. Because people tell me, oh, I love having your kid come over. He helps me with the trash, and I'm like, really? He doesn't
He doesn't help me.
him like 5 times.
Yeah.
Take the trash. So it's like those things that I tend to like try to remind myself that I hear them, so it can give me that satisfaction or that understanding that I'm doing something besides yelling and screaming at my kids sometimes, because I feel like I do that a lot, and I kind of remind myself, oh, Claudia, you've been doing that a lot this week, so don't do the yelling and screaming. And then my little one will tell me, she's like, Mommy, you were yelling a lot. And I'm like, I know. She's very vocal. I know, baby. And I explained to her, I was frustrated, didn't listen, you wasn't listening. And then she goes, yeah, we didn't do what you asked. I didn't pick up my toys. And I'm like, yeah. So they're like, I'm sorry, Mommy. So she's sympathetic. So she understands where my frustration was coming from, and understanding that she didn't do the right thing either. So those styles, I don't know what kind of style that is, but it's a parenting style because we're doing it. You know what I'm saying? Our kids are showing it out there. Like I could see it I could see it with all 3 kids that you have. They're all different, but they all have our core value that makes us friends, like we are. Our kids are our mirrors, I say.
So, Vanilla, you have one. We have
I
multiple. You have one.
do.
So how has that been?
Should be easy. It's just one.
Oh, it all depends on the kid, him or
True. Each kid's
herself,
different.
right?
Mhm.
You could have one that's the Valepa 100 that's worth like 5 kids. Like I mentioned earlier, I've been very lucky that my kid is, don't get me wrong, he's fiery, he's very opinionated, he speaks what he wants and what he thinks is right, and we go back and forth constantly, but we communicate a lot. So I have one, but since he's little, we try to communicate a lot to the point that sometimes he goes, Mom, we haven't talked in a long time. Or, Mom, I enjoyed the conversation we had, because we'll talk about different things or anything, right? So, me, one, has been a great experience. It hasn't been nothing like I have, oh, because I have this one child, I've learned something. Like, I don't think I've parented enough, maybe in a way. I don't think I
What do you
have.
mean by not parented enough? Like,
This is just one.
Probably because it's one, and he wasn't like a hard, it was been a flowy relationship.
you want a challenge.
Yeah, and then maybe
No,
because I
you don't,
did,
girl,
I
because
don't,
I
I
had a
do. You
challenge.
guys know I do, right? You know, I love a
Mm.
challenge. And then I've, tr- I had a little bit of challenge when his father and I got divorced. I tried to see if we could like have a beautiful co-parenting situation, but that didn't happen. So we went back to just the flowy me and him. I think I was raised by my mom, so I always think of parenting as the mother says what it is, does what it is. You know what I mean? The father's there to back her up or not say anything.
Ooh.
So I really haven't
you
really
feel
thought
like-
much about my parenting.
Do you feel like, okay, when you have siblings, you have a different experience than being an only child. Do you think that even though he grew up, I feel like even though he grew up as an only child, he was always with other children. So do you think like he lacked that sort of sibling?
Well, no, because again, I have a younger sister who treats me like I'm her mom.
Right.
So and then you have to remember your aunt, you're not his friend, but they act like they're siblings because there's only 4 years apart. So I don't think he lacked that. And like you said, all the cousins being around that age. And now that you mention it, the relationship that I had with my sister or my cousins, just having them over, we talked about anything. They confided in me for being the oldest cousin. My son kind of picked that up too. Like sometimes like, boy, I am your mother. I am not your cousin, I am not your best friend. I am your mother. So.
But do you kind of want to have that sort of relationship with him, like friendly relationship? Because some parents are like, I'm the parent. You talk to me like I'm the parent. You show me respect. I'm not your friend, because that's how I would say we were raised. Like our parents are our parents. They're not our friends.
Yeah. Exactly.
But do you feel like you want to have that friendly relationship with him?
I have it, but I also have the I am your mother. But because we do have that friendly relationship, sometimes I feel like that's why I'm saying it a lot. Like,
right.
Hello, I'm why? But why? But why? It's always like, but why? But why? It's like, because I'm your mother and I said so.
Yeah, that's the same with me. Like, especially because like I act all kooky and crazy around the kids. Like sometimes like I'll just bust in their room and like start twerking, and they're like,
yeah, me too.
On. They're like, oh my God, you're so cringy. So they look at me like sort of that friend sort of status, but I have to be like, I am your mother. And they're just looking at me like, okay. Even their father too, who I think when they were younger, they were a lot more scared of him. Like when he would get serious, you can see that they were scared, like when they were younger. But now, especially now that we're like learning about zodiac signs, why people act the way they do. And like the girls have been very involved with that with me. So they understand that father's a Gemini. So now they've named him 2 people. So, how he has his...
I say they was a Gemini,
Yes. So like we know he's emotional. So then when we tell him he's emotional, he's like, oh, I'm not emotional. We're like, okay, you're proving it right now. But so they're starting to understand. And then, going back to like parenting styles and bringing in that whole other parent, right? So their father and we kind of similar, but a little bit different because, I was raised here in the States and he was raised mainly in Cape Verde. So he got more of that, like, traditional point of view when he was raised. And then he was raised by both his parents. It was like mother, father, siblings, where I was raised mother, stepfather, uncle, aunts, cousins. So it was like a whole mix. So we come from two kind of backgrounds, yet similar cultures. So he's a little bit more strict, and they will always come to me for things because they know, I'll listen, I'll try to understand their point of view, where he's like, this is how it is. No, it's not happening. Da, 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 da. And if it's something that we agree on, I'm the one that's really putting in that effort to explain to them like why it's that way, and da, 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 da. Where he's like, because I said so, and kids nowadays, that doesn't work.
And I try to stay away from that
doesn't
too.
work.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because
and
I
he's
said
come,
so.
And he's come a long way too, but it's taken a long time. But yeah, so, and then you mentioned, Vanilla, like it was that co-parenting. You just gave up on it.
I did. I mean, I did. I tried, I tried like, I'm going to call your father because you said you want your ears pierced. I'll call your father, right? Now it's like, no. So, and that I've been giving up on that long time ago, especially because, again, his father was maybe like your kid's father, raised in Cape Verde. So it's, no, I said so. This is how it is. I don't care what your mother say. This is how it is, things like that. So I was like, no. Plus, I raised them on my own here. Parenting wise, I raised them on my own. So I dropped that. Yeah. And my mother always tells me, though, like, oh, watch when he grows up. He's going to do you this way or be a certain way. I was like, lady, no. But why? Because I'm not as strict as she was. She thinks he's going to turn out bad or he's going to do something foolish. So I was like, so you think because you were strict, I didn't do crazy stuff? No, I was just a good kid. Because I know I have cousins who were raised by parents who are extremely strict. I mean, you don't get a house key in high school to come in, nothing. Strict. That were not the worst kids, but they did some pretty bad things. And so, it doesn't work to be, I don't believe it works to be that strict.
But for me, I think it depends on the kid. Like some kids are just naturally, you'll tell them to do something and they'll do it. You know what I mean? You'll explain something and they'll understand it, where you have other kids that are going to challenge you and they're going to want to really push those boundaries. You know what I mean? So it's going to be different for each kid. Whereas in the olden days, everybody was raised the same. Doesn't matter. Like, this is what it is. Like, there was no trying to understand the kid's personality and like just trying to like adjust to make sure that they're happy. It's like you basically didn't have a say. You weren't
your own identity.
Like your words and your ideas didn't have value until you were an adult.
Yep.
Right?
Bringing does right now some of that still come out? And I can see a lot of that still comes out sometimes. Like I said, when I'm like, because I'm your mother and I said so. That's still my mom coming out of me, how my mom raised me coming out.
Yeah, but doesn't that come out when you get to a point that you've tried to like explain your side, you tried to make them understand, and then they're just like really pushing the boundaries, and you're like, okay, at this point I got to drop the parent card because I'm the parent. I hear you. You made your point, but ultimately I'm still the parent. You know what I mean?
Why are you yelling? I'm yelling because I said it calmly 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and now I'm yelling.
Yes.
Oh my God. The yelling piece. The yelling. I'm like, I'm not yelling. You're yelling at me. Anybody can hear you're yelling at me. Your tone, especially if you're a male. My son has always got that big voice. And he's very emotional as well. And he's like, and my parents, as soon as he does that in front of my parents, they look and they're all like, oh no. And I'm looking at him and I already know what it is with him. I'm like, his tone is so high because he's tall and he's a man and I'm short and he's gonna beat you up.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they'll say stupid shit like that.
The day that he decides to put his hand on me, I don't think he wants to be here anymore. Because he knows I'm his mother. You know what I'm saying? I'm the one that brought him here. Why would he ever do that? He can get as mad as he wants. I tell him that. I'm like, you get mad as you want. You can shout as loud as you want. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to shout him. But we're not going anywhere. None of us is listening at that point because we shut down. Like, this is what happens. You yell at me, I shut down. Well, you're yelling at me. I said, I'm not yelling. My tone of voice is stern. So for you, it's yelling because I'm not talking to you like softly, hey, like I normally do, kidding around. So my tone changes. So you think it's yelling. And I'm like, but I'm
Yeah.
not yelling. I'm trying to tell you
Talking
that,
loud. It's my communication style.
right? Like my tone is there. Like that you're getting a nerve, so the tone has to be strict and then he gets all mad, and I'm like, so we're not listening to each other anymore. So let's stop. We visit the conversation after. Please leave my presence.
Oh, my new thing is, oh my God, you're about to be shipped to Rhode Island. I am shipping you to your dad. Oh, you're gonna ship me now? I'm a package. I'm a package.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So dramatic.
Yeah, funny though.
Oh, geez.
It is a very stressful but very rewarding position that we have to be a
Yeah.
parent. And asking them to do house chores is a problem. I, I'm impatient. I want something done when I asked for it to be done. And I have to
Girl.
ask for it 5 times. After that, I'm done. I'll do it myself. And then you come look
It's
Oh,
at
not
me,
parents in us.
always gonna do it.
Well, at
not
least in
me.
me.
I'm like, that would never happen if it was me. Like if I got up and my mom says that bathroom needs to be clean, I would have jumped out of my bed and
Right.
cleaned that bathroom and not come into
No,
the room and
I
say,
knew
"Oh, there's no gloves. I'm not touching that
Yeah.
toilet."
it's
Like you would
Friday.
you have the
It's
nerve to walk
Saturday
into my
morning.
room
It's time
and
to
tell
clean the
me
bathroom.
you're not cleaning the bathroom because you don't have a glove, you're not touching that toilet? I would never say that to my mother because she would throw something at me.
I get there with the dishes. Oh, you want me to wash these dishes? Yeah. But look, they're nasty. I was like, that's why they need to be washed.
Like
It's
you
all
ate on them,
greasy.
right?
It's all greasy. What does that mean? You want me to touch it? It's greasy. I'm like, see, I can't.
No. You see, that's why you had to start them when they were 4, so you wouldn't have that problem.
Oh,
Yes,
God.
No,
sir.
I like my kids know what their chores are, but I still have to 2, 3 times be like, go do the dishes, go do the dishes. Like I'll ask because they take turns. The girls take turns. Who like we have a group chat and I'll put in the chat whose turn is it to do the dishes and be like, oh, I was gonna do them, but as soon as you said that, now I don't feel like doing them anymore. And
Using
I'm
the
like,
emotional thing.
I wouldn't have to say it if you actually did what you were supposed to do. You know the dishes have been sitting there for a long time, so just do them and I don't have to say anything. That's what they
Yeah.
don't understand.
Yeah, the procrastination is very high in these kids. They procrastinate everything. "Oh, I'm gonna do that later," and I'm like, "Just
Then it
do it
won't
now.
get done.
It's gonna happen later. It won't get done, and then we're gonna argue.
Yeah.
And there's no point. There's no need to just do it, and then we don't argue, and we're fine."
Yeah. So last week, I was like, guess what? Wake up, wake up, wake up. He's like, oh, mom, please. I was like, get your butt up. I was like, this room needs to be cleaned. And then when it's, you have 20 minutes after you clean it to go do your laundry. Do my what? I'm like, laundry. Why? Why? Because does it? Because
Oh
does it?
no, he did it.
Yes, he did. I was like,
So
you know
yeah, you gonna
something?
let an
Yes.
11-year-old beat you?
Yes. I was
16.
like, because no, because I was like, this is why us, I'm just gonna say Cape Verdean women. It's why we complain that, oh, our husbands don't do this or men don't do that. No, it's because we're raising them to not do it.
Right.
Especially me. I'm raising you to not wash the dishes, not scrub the bathroom, scrub the toilet, or do your own laundry. When you go to college, who's gonna teach you? When you leave, who's gonna tell you? You're gonna find a wife. She's gonna complain about you being the husband who doesn't know how to do anything. And
Or
it's gonna be my fault.
Or you're gonna be the guy that has that expectation that your wife should be doing it,
Exactly.
and girls nowadays aren't having it, and you're never gonna find a wife because ain't nobody
Exactly.
gonna be doing
Because
it
you
for
ain't
you.
gonna find your mama. Ain't nobody trying to be your mama.
They all say,
Right?
"I'm gonna pay a maid. I'm gonna get a maid to clean my
Oh
house."
yeah, they're gonna be
Yes.
so rich and they're gonna
So
pay
rich.
maids. God bless them. Yes, they are. So I
Yeah.
can get a maid too.
I'm like,
I'm
yeah.
like, yeah.
I
It's fine
tell
for
my
me.
kids all the
That's
time,
money.
either you learn how to do it or you make the money to pay somebody to do it. But either way, you're gonna have to work hard. So figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Work's got to be done.
That's right. So moving on from this conversation, because I'm sure we can talk about this all day, all night. But our kids are being raised in a quote unquote digital age, right? Everything's online, everything's like it's the phones, it's the games, it's all this.
Mm-hmm.
What are your views on that? And do you think it's a good thing? Do you think it's ruining this new generation? Like, what do you guys think about that?
Oh my God.
I think it's a good thing.
It's a
I think
plus.
it's
It's a plus.
progress, yeah. But then it's us having to learn a new skill. It's us having to learn new styles of dealing with it because now instead of just saying do this because I said so, it's Can I see what you're into? I need to be involved. Teach me what you're doing. Show me, so you can try to control them or control the situation in that way. So it's just more work on our end, but it makes it a lot easier too, because when they're out and about, if I, because I am strict, I say I want to be able to see where you are, track you. I can call you whenever. I can see from your location where you're at. It makes it a little bit easier too, this digital age.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you want to talk about, do you really know what they're getting into though when they're locked in their room, or that, it's again, it's something to do with control and us learning how to be exposed to it, or how deciding how much we want them exposed to that.
So
But
the education becomes a little different because we have to educate ourselves on what's going on with the social media and then educate our kids on what's going on with social media. So that's a conversation. It's easier when it's older because they listen, even though they act like they don't, but they do listen and then can kind of open up and talk to you about if there's any bullying or anything going on in a group chat. Like that's one thing I knew never was a fan of. So he always stood up for the kids because of the kids have told me, and he's told me like, nah, he was picking on him. So I said something. The teacher got mad. So what? But he was picking on him. So I wasn't going to let him do that. So he's always taken other kids and helped them out. So the bullying piece was very important conversation we've had since he was young, always being nice to other kids. So if something's happening on social media, for him to, let somebody know, address it in a safe way, which is school guidance counselor, things like that. So that's the education piece that I think that parents need to educate themselves in and how to have those conversations with kids. Because of my role in the community, I've had a lot of those meetings, those presentations being presented to me, how to deal with that. So I always had a step forward on how to do with it with my kid, and it was easier to allow him with the phone and not track as much, even though I still have the tracking of it started with I need to know what downloads you're getting. It comes through my phone and I approve or not. And then as he got older, it's less phones. I know his phone code. I have a location. We share location with our phones. And there are times it gets turned off, yes. And I get ticked off. And
mm-hmm.
the explanation for the ticked off of it is because for me, if you left me sleeping at somebody's house and I've allowed you to sleep over, I get up in the middle of the night for random things, bathroom or whatever, and then I'll stomp in your room and you're not there. And then it's to remind me again that I can go on my phone and just be like, this is where he's at. You know what I'm saying? It's pinging, it's there. I need to feel that secure. I can go back to sleep. But when you do that to me, you turn it off. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. I call it. You're not answering because it's dead. That's a problem. So charging is always a conversation. Charge your phones, charge your communications with me because we need to have that when you're not in my presence. Because even though I can't keep you safe when you're not with me, I can at least get to you as fast as possible if I can with the phone. You know what I'm saying? Knowing where you are. So that's why I say it's a plus and it's a negative because there are kids who may hide things in their phones and not be as open to discussing that with their parents or the age of curiosity. They're curious. They want to look into things. It's all about how you have those conversations with them, I guess, because I talk about sex with my son and body parts and things like that. Like those conversations come up and it's embarrassing, but the more I try to say like there's a proper age for them. If you do it now, you're gonna miss something when you're there. You're just gonna be like, I already did it. So like, what are you gonna look for now? You know what I'm saying? Like you're gonna be 21 and you sneaked into a strip club. Now you're 21 and things like that, and you're like, oh, I already went there. So what are you gonna do next? It's like try not to rush growing up when you have all of these technology because it's everything. The world is in your
Mm-hmm.
hands. You have technology. Just know that you are 15. This is where you should be, and there's a bubble that you should not cross until you get to that certain age. Because then, what are you going to do when you get older?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's what, the two different aspects. There's the now your topic was raising children in this new
Digital age.
digital age. So there's that. Yeah, we can have a sense of better what they're up to, what they're doing, because we educate ourselves when it comes to technology. But then there's how are they being influenced because of this whole digital age?
Mm-hmm.
How are they seeing other maybe other parents or other children portraying their lives to be, right?
Right.
And trying to compare their lives with them, or asking like, how come if they can have it, why can't I? If they do this, why can't I? You
Mhm.
know, so there's those two sides of this
Yeah.
digital age.
For me, for my kids, I try to hold off as long as possible, like to get them their own phones and things like that. For a long time, all their friends had a phone number and they could just, use their phones when they're out and about. And my kids always had like the iPods and the iPads, and they could only access when on Wi-Fi. But their biggest thing was they wanted their own phone numbers. They wanted, they wanted to what they saw that their friends had. And for me, I was like, I don't think it's necessary. You know what I mean? And I explained to them, you can do everything you need to do on Wi-Fi. If you're out and about, you're typically with an adult. So you don't need that kind of service. It wasn't until they got to an age, and that was the start of high school, where they were walking to school. So now I knew that they needed me to have that tracking. I needed them to be able to get in contact with someone if they needed to. So they weren't 24/7 with an adult. So that's when I felt it was appropriate for them to have their own phones. Because to me, that's like the ultimate independence, right? Is you have your own phone line, you can, talk to whoever you want, you can call wherever you want. But my thing was, I want them to have the exposure to the digital age and all that stuff, because it's a way of life now, right? This is how it is. But I didn't want to give them full control at such a young age, because like you said, both of you mentioned that there's a lot out there that they could get into, and it's a lot for us, never mind for a child who's still developing, to kind of, how are they going to interpret this, or how are they going to see something, and how is it going to affect them? So again, that education is very important. I think it's a good thing, because technology is always wonderful, but again, it's how you use it. So just making sure they have that education in that. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm controlling them and putting controls. I want them to already have those values instilled in them, that if they do go on social media and they see all these pretty girls, that they're not comparing themselves to them. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted them to already have that self-confidence, and to know what that really is. Like, that's just somebody's good day or good picture out of the thousands that they took. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted them to already have that perception before getting onto social media, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of it, I tell my son, that's entertainment, right? You have to look at it, because it's not real. It's not real life at all. It just isn't.
Yep. So speaking of that, what are some of the values you want your kids to have as they grow up?
Go ahead, Naya.
Oh, me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, you guys know independence is big for me. I want my kids to be able to take care of themselves, especially my daughters. Like, I don't want them to have to, quote unquote, depend on a man. I want them to be able to care for themselves, support themselves, especially financially. I want them to know how to deal with money, like just to have that overall independence. So that's number one value there. Also, definitely want them to be like empathetic and compassionate towards others. So, not just being selfish and thinking that only their wants and needs matter, knowing that other people's does as well, and to care for their community and to care for other people. Also to be humble. I don't want my kids growing up with a big head. I don't want them thinking that they're all that. And as they grow and become successful, I want them to still know where they came from and know that they're still the same person inside, regardless of how many accomplishments they have or how much success or money that they may acquire throughout their lives. And then speaking of that, like, I want my kids to like have a drive to be successful. Like, I want them, ultimately, I want them to be happy. Like, I'm not pressuring them to do this or do that. Like, I'm always talking to them and asking them, like, what are they into? What do they like? What do they think they want to do when they get older? And they, for the most part, they're like, I'm not sure, or I don't know. And that's perfect. And I tell them, that's fine. You're still young. Still kind of try different things, so then you can finally know what it is you want to do. But I want them to have that drive. Especially if you're someone who doesn't know what you want to do, you can get stuck in not doing anything because you don't know what you want to do. So I don't want them to be like that. I want them to to be driven and to have goals and want to be successful.
Yeah, sounds like mostly all of the things that we want for our kids as well. Definitely the humbleness
Oh yeah.
is important, especially with a lot of the things that we could see with kids being too spoiled. So I know he's come across, my oldest has come across the kids that are too spoiled, and I've had to have that conversation of like, these people could give their child those things, but I'm still working on them. I'm gonna give you what I want. So he's always been like appreciative of everything that I could give him, and I do my best. Always, I want him to have the value of work, but I don't want him to think of he has to work hard. I want him to be smart about work. You know what I'm saying? Like that we have this thing that I should be working hard, because if I'm not working hard, then I'm not getting any results. No, there are smarter ways to get what you need. There are things that you're physically don't have to be exhausted to be able to show that you're working, that you're doing something. I just sometimes I feel like we've been taught that if I'm not physically doing something all the time, then I'm not working. And and then that's a challenge for me. So I'm like, I don't always have to be physical. There are the things that my brain can get me to do that is presented as work hard and getting the successfulness that I need in life. I want him to be kind, always, always kind to other people, and to want to spread love instead of hate. Those are the things that I've been able to express myself. I think people has always told me that my family has always been kind, so I've always kept that number one, to raise him to be kind to others, to help others, because you never know when you're going to need it. My family was the family that everybody came over when they needed food, they needed clothing, they needed shelter. So in Cape Verde, that's what we're known as, those type of people. So I want to make sure that my ancestors are happy that we're kind to others, and we should generally be kind to other people. That independentness is important as well. He's a man, and I have a young girl as well. I want them to be vocalize what they want, what they need, and be respected for it. Not to do it in a way that is respectful, that someone is not gonna not understand what they're trying to say to them, or consider them as rude, or anything like that. So compassion, all of those things are important to who you're going to become and how people will treat you in the future.
That's right. Well, I'm gonna be thankful and say that thankfully he's always shown to be like grateful, my only child. But lately I'm more of on that. One thing I want you to know is that you need to give gratitude for everything you want, right? You need to be grateful for what you already have. He was never a child to ask and ask or need and need, but
Mhm.
he's as he's getting older, he does in the sense that he was like almost demanding. Oh, I need this, what I need. Da, 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 da. So I'm like, hey, be grateful for what you already have before you're over here demanding other stuff or asking for other things. Definitely have to second the humbleness or just being friendly and the drive and the desire to help others, right? He always like, Mom, you're so nice. You always want to help everybody. So I think that's one big thing that I've instilled in him. A value is wanting to help others and be friendly, be kind, humble, and definitely practice gratitude. And all the other good stuff you ladies mentioned, definitely, we want them to succeed. I sometimes I'm like, you need to calm down because he is a little fireball who thinks he has it all figured out. He already knows what he's going to do and what he's not going to do. So back and forth is with the whole, right now I'm working hard to get him to see that if for you to accomplish all the things that you said you're going to do, you're going to have to go to college, boy. And he's like, no, I don't. And I'm going to prove it to you why I don't have to go to college, or so I'm trying to say, okay, maybe not college, but a different, a post-secondary is something you're going to have to get into it. So getting him to, have that education, knowledge, the value of acquiring knowledge. Because again, social media does make it seem like it's very easy to get what they want, when in the
Mhm.
truth it isn't. So we're working on those things. And I think because we are surrounded by a village of, our people from our backgrounds, our community, our kids know that you can have that. There's a lot of people out there that have way less than we do. like it was all poor, and then we're really rich if we really think about it. So that made it easier, a little bit easier on us raising our children, right? Instilling those values because
Hmm.
we send them back home for vacation and they see it, they experience it. Should have had a couple more babies so I could have different, more stories for you guys. But
I
no,
mean,
and then again, it's like I've always, I am my, like on my maternal grandmother, I am the first granddaughter. So all the little cousins that came after was like, take care of them, take care of your brother, take care of the kids. And then here in America, being the oldest again, everybody that was born here after me, that were born here, they always looked up to me, almost like, can you help me out? Can you give me advice? So in a way, I guess I didn't parent them, but in a way, I learned and practiced with them how to raise my own child. From a young age, I've been learning how to, everybody's different. There's different styles. Everybody.
so you've been mothering since you were little.
Yeah. I remember I'm only a year and a half than my brother. He's gonna hear this and want to kill me, but it's the truth. I mothered him since kindergarten. I remember being very young, like maybe not even 6. They would go get me in my preschool or kindergarten classroom to go make sure he eats his food because he's in a mood. Make
Mhm.
sure he puts on his coat, tie his shoe at a very, very young age. 8 years old, I was cooking, washing, cleaning, bathing them, helping out as much as I could as being the little kid that I was. So now it's so easy for me to just do it that I don't like, oh, go wash your laundry, go do the dishes because I automatically just doing it. I'm
Yeah.
conditioned to just do it. But I'm working on saying, no, you're almost 18. You either learn now, practice now, or because I will be done teaching you. Once you're 18, I'm done mothering.
Are you you're one
Yeah,
of
right.
those
Unless I
you're one
have
of
a,
those
a new
parents?
baby, but
It sounds so good.
So
Once you're 18, you're done.
yeah, you're
yeah,
one of those parents that like you're 18
you're
now, you're on
18.
your own. Like I'm not supporting you, like you figure it out.
You better figure it out. Not that I'm always probably always gonna support, help out. But
Mhm.
yeah, you're gonna get a job. You're going to buy your own things. Because I don't even do it now. Like sometimes, let's say I can afford to give you those $50 sneakers, but you want those 250. You're gonna save that 150 or 200, and then I'll give you the 50. You put it together, you buy it. So I'm not gonna say you can't have it because it's too expensive, blah, 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 which I have in the past. But it's like I don't give in and be like, okay, it's Christmas, you can have it. No, don't have it. And when you are 18, definitely you need to figure it out.
I don't know if I can do that. I think
You don't know if you can do what.
like just
Like
stop.
figure it out. Yeah.
No, just be like, okay, let's say you're 18, like you're an adult, go do your thing. I think especially if they're in college, I'm still gonna treat you like you're
Oh
still
yeah, I mean, I'm
a
still going to
child
do
and
the parent things like you need my W-2s to do your financial aid. Yes,
mhm,
you need food, so I'm going to give you food. But in the point that I'm saying, my
Lavish.
rules, I know it's my house, but if you're 18, you don't like my rules, then you need to go find your house. You
right,
know,
right.
it's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
stay
That's
here, but these are my rules, or we're gonna fight back and forth of what you're doing nuts. I don't want to fight.
right. You got to be working in college, doing something with yourself. Like, if you're not working with money's got to come in, you got to show me how that money's coming in. You know what I'm saying? And you got to do something with yourself to make yourself an adult. Because if you do nothing, then you're still a child. So don't expect me to treat you like an adult when you're a child. If your age says 18, but you're sitting at home, not doing anything, not going to school, not nothing.
That's not
So
even a child because children go to school.
right,
You know
you
what
know
I
what I'm saying?
mean?
Like then you cross it because of the school part too. But I'm like, then what are you doing? Like I'm not gonna have one of those kids in my home. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. Like I
So
know there
you
are
would
parents out there that still do it, but I'm gonna
so
be.
you would be the mother that says, "Okay, you're 20 years old, you're not in school and you don't have a job. You have to get out of my house."
You got to do something.
Yes.
I will help you. What do you need me to do? Like,
No,
I'm
they're
always
like,
going to be there. I'm always going to be like, do you need me to take you to an interview? Do you need me to do this? I want to give you 50% of this, 50% of that, but you got to do something. It can't be me doing the work anymore. It used to be me. You know what I'm saying? When you were a kid, I did everything for you. And yes, it's my job. It's my job to educate you as well to become something. Now, if you're not doing it because you're choosing not to, because I did that part. I did teach you that you need to be this person, that person, that person. You're choosing not to do that, then I shouldn't have to bear the burden anymore. It's not
Yeah.
fair to that
And it's just
mother. The
I just
father.
read something. After 18, anything your parents do to you, it's strictly out of love, right? It's out
Hmm.
of love what your parents do after you're 18. I want you to be humble. I want you to be respectful. I want you to be friendly. So, but when you're 18, if you're in college, I understand. So I prefer you go
Yeah, but you're
experiment
in
by
school, so
moving
you're doing
out,
something.
like move
Mhm.
out, go experiment rather than stay home. Because and if you do stay home, how are you going to make this happen? How are you going to be in college and still need transportation? I'm not going to buy you a car. I'm not going to put gas in your car. So you're going to be in college and get a job. So these are the
Mhm.
things, that I'm trying to get you to think about now. So
Right,
if,
right.
if you say you want to go to college, then I'm going to push you to go to college. Like, go experience, just like I did.
But you
You
don't
don't want
want
to
your
be
son to be home and going to college.
because
He
he
has
has
to
No,
to be
be, he has to be,
working.
she's like, he has to go.
Yeah, he has to be working and being able to get that car and pay that car. Like if that's something that he can take care of, that's
I want to
fine.
be able to help you because you're helping yourself,
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
you're not
Yeah.
helping
And
yourself.
that's why, like, for me, I want to instill my kids having goals. Like, you may not know what you want to do, but at least have some goal that you're working towards. And, like you said, Claudia, like every day you're doing something
Mhm.
to work towards that goal. Because if you don't have any goals, then what are you doing with your life?
Right. Where did I go wrong?
Yeah. Seriously. Like, what did I do wrong?
Because you, as a parent, you tend to put everything that your kids are not viewed in your vision as the right thing to do, or other people, because other people's perception of you, it's a lot. You put it on you, like, where did I go wrong? Because you know that in the Cape Verdean community, we have a couple of kids that are very close to us in our families. That my mother comes to me and says, "What did she do wrong?" Like she's like, she did everything. She worked hard. She gave them everything she wants. She taught them to do this. But why is he doing that? Why is she doing that? And then I
Right.
look at mom and I said, "Ma, you're going to do everything that you can do, but they're their own person.
Mhm.
They're going to screw up their own way and they have to learn. It's how you help them that makes a difference. It's if you help too much, you're not helping. You know what I'm saying? You're just taking away all the burden, and it's going to kill you because you're the one as a parent that's forever. Because I know we know people like that who's taking all of their kids wrongdoings as theirs. Internally they got all of these diseases, all of these aches, all of these problems because they took their kid's problem as an adult to become
Mhm.
their problem and tried to solve it. That kid never got out of that problem because that kid never figured out what
Right.
was the problem. Somebody else took care of it. That's what I don't want for my children. I don't
Mhm.
want to take care of it for you. I want to take care of it with you.
Mhm.
And that's always been my explanation. You get into trouble, fine. It happens. You're a child. You're going to get into trouble. But you got to tell me so I can help you get to solving it. I don't expect you to know the answers because you're not old enough to know how to fix it. But you got to get to the people who's going to help you fix the problem. Don't be, I'm not going to be that parent that's going to be like, oh, honey, no, sweetie, what'd you do? Let's fix it. What's your angle? Seriously.
Yeah, because we're getting to that point where our kids are going to be transitioning into little young adults. So, you know, so
Scared.
I'm kind of excited to see like what decisions they make. But, you're a little bit worried too, because this is what's going to say if you were a good parent or not. You know what I
Which
mean?
I
Like,
think you're
and
always
even,
parents.
and
No,
even if you,
yeah, you are a good, from the beginning if you're a good parent or not.
but
So,
like Claudia said, you might be a good parent and then your kid turns
yeah,
out
that
all
has
screwed
nothing
up.
to do with
And it has
you.
nothing to do with you. It was
Yeah.
them as a person. And that's what we as parents, and I think a lot of parents go through this and they don't talk about it. They keep it inside. It's just like a shame. Because I find myself asking myself that
They feel
question.
like they failed,
Yeah,
Right.
like
right?
where did I go wrong? What did I do? Like, what I'm saying? It was a kid's mistake. You know what I'm saying? They done that, but as they get older, you expect them to grow, to actually put the pieces together because it's a puzzle. You're raising them from little to be then to be on their own. They got to put all of those informations, everything that you've taught them, put it together and use it to their advantage, not to disadvantage them. And a lot of parents feel like they disadvantage their kids and they don't know why, and then they carry that guilt, and you could see it in the people that actually
Sometimes,
carry
but well, I guess we do play a part, and there obviously we do more. We
Yeah,
definitely do. Just
definitely.
the same way we want to instill values in them, we instill negativity, I guess, in them as well, right? If
Yeah.
you spoiled your child and he doesn't really have to know that he has to earn something when he's older, why should he feel like he needs to earn that? Even though he's 18, I'm in college. What do you mean? I'm in college. So when I was young, you said as long as I get good grades, I could get what I want. So I never told my kid that. Like, you get good grades, you get everything you want. It's not happening. You get good grades because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to get good grades. You're supposed to work hard and do your best. You're supposed to just give your best. So when you're 18, you're going to have to start doing your best for yourself. Everything I help you out with after is because I'm doing it because I love you. You know what I mean? It's not even that, oh, you deserve it or not, because that's not how I raised you. Oh, I deserve this iPhone because I got straight A's. No, it's not how it works. Are we ever going to stop parenting? Is it ever going to end? I mean, right now, even if they're in college up to the age 24, I guess, right? They're still responsible in a way for
26.
financial.
26.
Claudia, stop making it worse, Claudia.
No, yeah, you can.
26.
I think you can have them on your health care.
That's
so
an
they
Whatever
old-
your healthcare says.
Oh,
until the age
healthcare.
26,
Because
that's what
you're
it is.
26, yeah.
Yeah.
But I
That's
think
older.
but 24 for financial aid, I think, right? Maybe after that, we don't have to help them out again. I mean, they can
Like for
claim
me,
independent.
I don't go based on the rules of the government to determine when I stop, when a child stops becoming a child. It's every child's different. So some are going to need a little bit more help and more support, where others might be, on their own a lot faster. So that's where you really got to understand your child and understand their needs. But just to kind of like wrap us up, I want to leave us with a book, as you know, me and my books. Today's book is The Road Less Traveled.
I heard of this book before.
Can you see? I got this book for $1 at the thrift store.
Oh, wow.
Can't see, but
they're here, $1.
Yeah, $1. I see it.
But I read this book a long time ago, but a good part of this book that I guess I've always known this, but it kind of just put everything into perspective for me in terms of like children and raising children. So the book is called The Road Less Traveled, and it's a new psychology of love, traditional values, and spiritual growth. And it talks a lot about children, parenting, and raising kids. And it talks about the concept that a lot of times parents feel like your children belong to you. Like, these are my kids. And then depending on like how you grew up or how you were raised, a lot of parents try to live through their children, right? They want them to, have a certain profession or be a certain way because they're trying to fulfill their desires through their children, which is really, really bad. I don't think any of us have that concept or look at our children like they have to be this way. I can pretty much speak for all of us. Like, we ultimately just want them to be happy and want them to be successful in whatever they choose to do. Like, we're not going to dictate their path, but we're going to be there to guide and support them. So the book, it has a concept of your children are here through you. They're not here for you. They're not here for you to have like dominance over. Like, they chose you, spiritually speaking. They chose you to be their parent because for their experience here on earth, you were the best fit for them to help them grow and quote unquote guide them. So we're more of their guidance as opposed to like they belong to us, right? Like, we're here to guide them through their own life's path. And so the book like really breaks that down.
I need to go get it
and some children come into your life to make sure that your life path you learn as well. You know what I mean? So that's why you said some parents do everything, but then they're still dealing with that specific personality, in their children. So for them to learn as well.
Come here, for us, through our spiritual growth and through our life path, they chose us for a reason, right? Because just like we're benefiting them, they're going to benefit us. But again, we have to have that perception. You can't think your child's a burden, right?
Or a property.
Or property, either way, because that's not what they are. They are their own identity, their own from birth. Not when they turn 18. Granted, you're going to have a little bit more control, a little bit more guidance, a little bit more decision making for them as they're young, because they're learning, they don't know. So you're going to have more of that. But as parents, we have to ease up on that with each year as they grow older and give them that like autonomy to make their own decisions and be able to make those mistakes, right? Because they're gonna make mistakes. Like, what is a human who doesn't make a mistake? Everybody makes mistakes. But a lot of parents are so scared to let their children make mistakes that, like you said, Claudia, they take on all of the burden. Okay, my kid got into this trouble. I'm gonna call this person. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. They got a speeding ticket. Oh, I'm gonna call my friend that works. And I'm gonna get let them go dispute that speeding ticket at the court if they feel they need to dispute it. Let them pay it if they did wrong. Right? It's like with little lessons like that they start to understand and be able to make those decisions for themselves. So yeah, that's my takeaway.
Well, you just the road less traveled by.
Yes.
You didn't say who
By
it is.
M. Scott Peck.
P-A-C-K or P-E?
P-E-C-K. M.D. He's a doctor. Or she, I don't even know.
Ooh, no, I was kidding.
Psychiatrist. It talks about love too. Like, here's one chapter, The Myth of Romantic Love. So it's really cool, like how it breaks everything down and just things that we thought, how we think of things just gives us a different perspective on how to look at it.
Parenting is mostly relearning what our parents taught us. So we're like learning all over again, because I'm learning all over again. It's hard
different with each one too.
It's hard, but I love her. I couldn't see my life without her little bubbly self. She's so strong-willed. Defiance, it's not even defiance. She's just strong-willed. And I'm like, how can I argue that? And I'm at that, like, that's where I come mostly with my kids. When they come back at me, it's like, how can I argue that?
You said, how can you argue that? Look at it. How can I guide that?
But
right?
Right. So like at the same time, that's what like the first thing you go to, like a relearning, the first thing you come to is, how can I argue what she's saying to me? And then when you're looking at her and you're like, that's not how I'm going to do it, because I'm not going to win with an argument, so how can I redirect this into something that could help me?
So I think it's more of understanding, like you said, she's strong-willed, looking at that in a positive way, as opposed to like, that's a bad thing and trying to suppress it. But how can you don't want her to suppress it. You want her to keep her personality. You want her to keep her characteristics, but to express it in a positive way. And that's the thing, is a lot of times as kids are growing up, if they're acting in a certain way or doing a certain thing that we think is negative, because that's not how it's supposed to be. That's not how children are supposed to act.
Yeah.
Well, who says how children are supposed to act?
Right.
Who said that?
Man,
you know what I mean? It's our challenge as parents to figure out, okay, how do I give this child a positive experience with the way that they are, rather than taking the way they are and conforming it to the way I want them to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what society wants.
On you that's completely doesn't understand what you're trying to do with your own kids. And half the time I just have to be like, it's my kid.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's, obviously people are going to have opinions because of the way they were raised, because of the way they're raising their children, but your child, and your child is unique to your child. So you just got to like tune those people out, because
he's my child. That's it. He's mine.
My property. He picked me. He didn't pick you. He didn't pick you to parent him. He picked me to parent him. So let me guide my child the way that
you did your job. Now let me do mine.
All right. So good talk.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to add?
No, I think we can go on and on about our parenting skills. And then it's always something for us new to learn. Every day we're learning something new, at least attempting to try to learn something new from my kids and how I react to it, which is learning from my own self and shutting out all of the other voices that I'm hearing, that you shouldn't be doing this, they should be doing that. I'm like, just, okay, thank you for your opinion. Next. That's how I am lately. I listen. I'm not disrespectful. That's never me. I always listen, but it doesn't mean I'm going to do what you're suggesting. Kindly, thank you. And that's all I have to say. It's just thank you.
Thank you for making us parents and helping us live our best lives.
Everything we go through is to help us live our best lives.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. I'm sure we'll come back to this topic again, as our kids are always growing and getting into new things, and we'll probably have updates later on down the line. But yeah, thank you everyone for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode.
See you soon. Tune in
Bye.
soon.
Bye.
Peace.
Out.
Good.